Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me tonight. My name is Kyle Corvus Crow, doing a solo cast on the evening as Jeff Zeta Schnurr is unavailable for our regularly scheduled program this happy Monday. Well, we at the C-Star League hope that you had a great Thanksgiving. We hope that you are all well rested through the weekend and ready to see some League of Legends action come down as we have Temple University taking on Johns Hopkins, two undefeated tyrants in their respective JV runs thus far. These two promising to be a pretty great matchup. So we are going to take a look at these teams. Waste no time as we are just a little bit behind schedule, of course, tonight. Johns Hopkins University will meet the roster. It's Shane 25th Soul Kim in the top lane. Kelvin Knights Don Shen in the jungle. James the Rintosaka Lu in the mid. Inkyu for Jang, I hope I'm saying that right, Inkyu. And another one, Baskar Potential Balaji. Okay, that's the Johns Hopkins roster in a nutshell for you. They're going to be taking a look now over at the team. On the other side, the challengers, the one and only Temple University. I mean, you can just look at that record. They're 2-0 in every game they've played thus far. Not dropping a single game in all of their series. They've stacked up 6 nice 2-0 victories. That's 12 games in the CSL undefeated against some pretty good teams. They ran up against Temple in the beginning. I don't know if that's the same exact Temple team. Took on a couple Penn State teams, 2 from UMBC, and of course their own B team, JHU, B for best team. Well, obviously not. A team did seem to come out of that one on top. Looking over on the other John Hopkins, of course, looking back at this, was ready to beat down as well. So I'm actually being told that we didn't have the audio for the Temple slide there. So that is my fault. My apologies on that one, of course, ladies and gentlemen. Do want to apologize for that. So we will take another quick look at Temple University here and just contrast the big points we're making here is that one loss to Penn State, one tricks only, one loss to Penn State Hardstuck. They did take those series out and away entirely. And contrasting that to where Johns Hopkins did not lose a single game in those series that they both won, of course, coming away undefeated in the series. Johns Hopkins maybe looking just a little bit stronger here on paper. But with that, we are ready to go ahead and get into the draft, the first game of the series. It means Temple is going to be over on the blue side. Johns Hopkins starting on the red for this particular matchup. And we're going to see exactly how these two teams do square off against one another. And the Akali's taken out immediately away. They don't want 25th Soul or the Rintosaka to play that. And it's even something that a lot of junglers like to keep in their pocket is the Akali these days. So just a strong pick that's really versatile in the map, can go a lot of places. I have no complaints about taking this out at any given position. So everything is pretty good to go. With that in line. The Kha'Zix as well, putting some pressure just on that particular side of the map. Don't want to deal with that, whereas things seem a little bit different over on the side of Johns Hopkins. They want to get rid of the Udyr, they get rid of the Lucian. These seem like more targeted pocket picks that you might expect coming out of someone like Shade out of Victorian there. Emil, the last ban, they don't want to see that. So a lot of pressure. I feel like this takes a lot out of just the top side of the map for the likes of Johns Hopkins. So it's really, I would not be surprised to see their AD and support picked up so early into this one just because it's a clear, wide open pool. They're not exactly worried about losing out on as much there. And so reverse of that is the Hecarim ban does come down. Keep in mind now Alistair open for first pick. A couple other high profile picks maybe on the line. Curious to see what they will come away with here as I believe we did not use Pro Draft for this particular series, so this will all be just done in real time. I don't believe they have any placeholders negotiated, so curious to see how that will work. But they're on the clock out. Laurent just taking all the time that there is to take. And this may be just an issue we've had with the client sometimes. It'll hover at 0 for a long time. What's more than likely happened or is happening right now is already these picks have been decided. And, 4 or 5 are locked in at this point already, if they're moving kind of fast. And it'll all just catch up at once. So with that, not a lot we can analyze besides the bans here. And the biggest one is it's pretty jungle focused already. I mean, you have the Camille who can jungle. The Kha'Zix obviously mainly jungle, along with Udyr and Hecarim. Nightstone and Rictorium are 2 players that I'm going to want to look at a lot of this game, because I have no idea how they're going to square up against one another. Just with, it seems like these are pocket picks. It seems like, okay, it's a little bit more generalized on the side of Temple, what they've banned away, versus what seems a bit more specific for Johns Hopkins here. They don't want Rictorium on these particular 2 champions, and Shade as well off the Lucian, no problem there. So I'm going to be emphasizing a lot of these particular 2 players as we do move on. And yeah, there's the rundown we were talking about. So it was Lissandra first picked for Temple there. Best guess is that's going to go on to Zio there, just more than likely being what it is. So that's the support pickup, as well as the Graves in the jungle. They knew there was a lot of jungle pressure for Johns Hopkins already. They didn't want to give up any more priority, and so they take away that pick. Looks like the Jax is going to be locked in for Rictorium there, most likely in the jungle. They can flex around with that. The Jax just has tended to perform better in the jungle these days, so with that locked in, it'll be the 3rd pick, and the support already something that they know they can take away. Braum, no problem. They're going to lock that one in, and now just a matter of seeing how Johns Hopkins does answer this one before they go into the 2nd round of the bans. Looks like it is the Malzahar taken away. Will be locked in for the Rintasaka there. Very likely he thinks he's going to be facing this Lissandra, so feels pretty comfortable with that matchup.
The warrior spirit is never broken.
Smart money's on betting that Jax will be the jungler, so I imagine that Johns Hopkins is going to be drafting that way, but they're not exactly sold, as they still do ban the Xin Zhao just to make sure they take away at least some options from their opponents on the side of Temple. Then and there, the Gangplank is what they answer back with, and that's a little bit trickier, as that one is going to be off the table. Kaisa, no answer for the AD here. Another shot, so Johns Hopkins really just stacking up their bans. We've got no ban on Laurent, no ban on Zio, and really no ban on Wolfgang. Instead, they focus 3 onto Rictorium and 2 onto Shade there, so these are 2 players easily being targeted, so I would not imagine they're going to have the easiest time in this particular game if they're the ones getting bogged down. Well, hey, they each had a significant portion of their pool targeted away, and I wouldn't be surprised actually to see now an AD picked up in this round for the side of Johns Hopkins. Number 4 probably just going to be picking his own champion here. And yeah, that's the Jhin, so that's 3 taken out of the AD pool, as well as the jungle pool. Shade and Rictorium both dealing with a lot of an uphill battle there. We'll see what these last picks are that do come out for Temple. Scion is the lock-in they want to go with there. Likely for Laurent in there is Rictorium, yes, on that Jax. By all sensible solutions there, and now Wolfgang left to pick the last champion for this Temple roster. We'll see how that goes to Xayah. She's been left open a long time. She's still a strong champion in this meta, something that may be overlooked. But it does seem, again, that they've targeted a little bit more comfort on the side of Johns Hopkins, as these are not meta bans entirely that they've locked on through, especially considering that Lucian. So, whatever potential will last pick here is going to set the tone. It should be the top laner, and the Aatrox is what does get locked in, out, and away for this particular game. So these players have their lineups locked, loaded, ready to go. There's the shuffle around, just make sure everyone's going where you think they're going. Nothing too crazy. Braum in the top lane, no, you expect that to trade. Unless, of course, they're not in order here, which would be unfortunate. And actually, it looks like they may have actually lined up out of order. So we'll see whether or not that happens. Shade being the top laner, Laurent being the support. I actually believe I recall that from from the slides we had earlier here. So I was a little bit off base, misjudged that one. I do apologize as I was talking down in order. You do have that standard top-down order on the side of Johns Hopkins there, and we thank them for that. We'll see exactly how these two compositions do square up against each other. So Wolfgang, the mid laner, versus the Rin Tosaka. That's going to be one I want to keep an eye on. This Malzahar versus Lissandra. Something always a little bit fun to get your eyes on, to watch it unfold as it does continue to progress. And we are getting ready, of course, to get into this game. See how these two teams, again, both undefeated, do come in to this day, because it's going to be a lot of high pressure. This is the point in the season, of course, where every game is high pressure, and you can, even from day one, you can't really afford some losses that come in like this. But this is, I think, the stakes just a little bit higher this late in the season, so we will see how that one does unfold. As yes, we have game number 1 ready to go here on your screen. It is, of course, Johns Hopkins on the red side, Temple over on the blue side. We'll see exactly how these two teams do square off against one another, as they're both just drawing the line of scrimmage. Nobody wanting to get too involved this early. Nobody wants to find themselves in a bind, a bad situation, and then, you know, give up too much at the beginning of this game. They do have to be careful with series like this, that especially when you have some of these champions that can really just take over game. I mean, primarily I want to look towards Victorium on that Jax, right? You have the Malzahar, that if you just get him an early kill, he can become such a nuisance. They don't want to take those risks on either side, and you don't get to be an undefeated team by taking foolish risks. I mean, yeah, obviously, a good team knows when to take risks, knows how to take them and pressure them out, but in particular here, this is something that is very wise to pan it out the way that they have. But you are thinking about this. Let me get you don't have the icons up at the top for this cast, so never mind. First takeaways, starting on the red side, each jungler just going to take that one out. Not surprising for either the Jax and start through on those that really just come out. Really how you want your gank path to go in this particular run. Keep it calm, ready. They want to shut down this bot lane, I feel like, fairly early for like Temple. They also don't want to really get rolling on this gym. I feel like there's a few more damage threats over here, so gotta be careful with that out. First coming down does land on the wall. Look at the root as well. It's about half the HP taken out and away. Nice pickup, all things considered, for these guys on Johns Hopkins. A little bit more laning pressure, it seems like, they've brought to the table here for themselves. Relatively quiet start coming down for these two teams. Heal and Lauren, a lot of focus on this bot lane already for these guys. Both junglers starting their red and are hanging around the top side for themselves here. Nightstone and the Rin Tosaka want to find Victorium here, and actually put him in a bit of a bind, get him to run on over. Look, here's a 25th soul over the wall. He actually interrupts Shade in that top lane, using the knockup. He might get a little bit of residual damage on the backside of things, but really bought a lot of time for Nightstone and the Rin Tosaka there to just cause a lot of chaos. Great play coming out now from the side of good old Johns Hopkins University. Nightstone with that blue buff now, still just chilling in this area. Wants to find Wolfgang, shows himself. There's the near side, but Lissandra, so easy to get out of these situations once you want. So you just pop that Evil Claw, you are right out. And it's a hard one to get the gank off of, because no flash was learned, no lane priority, really lost just a little bit of damage on the day. And ooh, speaking of damage, Shade in some trouble. The Ignite might just tick him out. It does! But the minion block, not enough, as the 25th soul is taken out and away onto this one. Not in a position to hold out this particular time, so does get locked down and through. And First Blood will be taken over, but it's traded right back, so they're not going to feel too bad about the way that one was handled for themselves. And it's a 1-1 pickup. 5 minutes into this game, everyone's just going to settle back down. Top laning, trading one apiece. And that's all well and good. Implication-wise, this should benefit Aatrox just a little bit more, but that's phenomenal for Shade in that top lane, that he was able to keep that one held down for himself. Not going to feel too bad about that. Just getting that return kill keeps him in this game. And against an Aatrox, when you are the likes of a Sion, when you do, just have the goal of just getting to this late game and becoming a terror, well, that's one of the most important factors here. So he's not going to count that as a total loss here on the day just yet. He wants to find himself a little bit more out of this one, though. You know that he does need to find some advantage as this Scion. And the Cinder seems to be how he wants to do it. This, a bullying build, the Aatrox. We'll see how well he can keep up, because the CS is actually just leaning ever so slightly towards Shade. 25th Soul has a little bit more that he could and should pick up out of this one, but won't get the opportunity to if this pressure keeps on building. Pressure, speaking of, he's covering his jungle as needs to anyway, if you are the side of Temple in particular. Victorium here on this Jax. I'm very curious to see when he's going to start hitting these ganks, doling out the pressure. He's going to find that opportunity. He's got a bit more of a scrimmage in the bot lane, but nothing too particularly bad there. Neither of these teams want to go in full effect for this particular fight. They know that if you give over an early kill to the Zaya, if you give over an early kill to the Jhin, that is havoc just waiting to be caused in your particular roster. And with both of these rosters being relatively swingy, ones that just get a little bit and you can take a mile, that's when you gotta really weigh each and every particular engage. And you can see that patience coming out from both sides here, particularly in Johns Hopkins. They're pushing, they've got pressure, but they're never over-committing in this bot lane in particular, at least. Different story for the top lane, right, where 25th Souls just dive bombing for shit. But either way, handing themselves out pretty well there. They show again, Rin Tasaka here coming in, just trying to get down what they need to. It'll be a tower that they want to take away. Nightstorm is there. That shows, of course, to Wolfgang that he can push out this mid lane pretty well, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them get a little bit of stacking up on this tower here. Of course, you can see on your map there the lovely tower HP bars. Just for quick visual reference, 555 across the board, and it's, I think, left 3 in the top lane there. It's just that's a really nice visual additive for especially guys like me doing casting here. Quick little glance, and yeah, everyone knows exactly where it is on the map. Of course, huge benefit to the players as well, but for anyone taking stock of the game, great little tooltip. Does get a little muddled up, of course, with Sion's icons just hanging out there the entire time in the top lane, but regardless, as these two junglers are just reset and catching their breath on their camps. You look at the hard farm out between them, and it seems to be benefiting Nightstone tremendously. He's the first one to level 6. He's up about 15 CS in particular, and he hasn't even been getting ganks off. He's tried a couple of sneak attacks here in the top lane, if you can even call him that. He's gone over the wall. He's, taken a nuisance away on the blue buff, hit the tower a little bit for damage. Nothing as dramatic as, summoner burning gank, though only the kills, of course, still those isolated top lane 1-for-1 trades that we did see come through. So neither team really diving in besides that. It's actually just lane chaos that we've seen thus far, but it's tremendously benefiting the side of Johns Hopkins. If they're content to roll this laning phase out, they know that, look, they've got a huge CS lead in the bottom of the tune of about 18 to 20. Same exact story in the mid lane, as Rin Tasaka is sitting up pretty well over Wolfgang here. And then their top lane is a good 20 up as well. So they don't have any qualms about extending this laning phase as far as it will go. It's not like they're going to fall any further behind the way these champions do spike out the item-wise between themselves. Just in a vacuum, if these lanes stay unaffected, Johns Hopkins could and would win the entire game just based off of, their farming ability and the way they're playing this one out. So again, a lot of onus onto Rictorium here for me. This is the guy that really needs to be making the play and breaking that cycle of just lane phase, lane phase, lane phase. He's been content to hard farm, and it's not been going... Well, it's not benefiting him in any way. It's not bad, right? It's not like things have gone terribly wrong, but he's 20 CS down to this Graves, who's, already invaded his jungle, already gotten pressure on his tower here. Something that he needs to be very well aware of going forward, and really looking to change up the way this game's being played. Now, he's going to give over a second blue buff. Wolfgang will get that one. That's going to help tremendously, actually, as you see, he's already low mana enough as it is, so that blue buff, very good for sustaining. Rentasaka is actually going to have to back before his comes up, and should be up any second now. He'll be running back down for it, and we'll see, actually, whether he even gets Night's Dawn's help, because Night's Dawn lurking around this top lane again. He's pinging the blue buff, question marks, not sure if it's there. Does want to check that one out, saying to wait the soul at this point, hey, look, you know, maybe harass Shade, maybe get him a little low. We'll see about the behind the tower dive here. But the minions really aren't there to support it, so unless they can draw him out or really just build up this wave and kill that cannon early, I don't see that happening. It's a lot of patience from Night's Dawn. They know that this is the time, so they do want to go in. There's 25th Soul going for it. The near side of the flash is out, and the damage is coming down. 25th Soul's low. He will take the last tower shot, but he does not go down for it and doesn't even need to... yes, actually does pop the resurrection. I'm sorry, I didn't see that one happening in full time, but either way, going to feel that one out really nicely. Not going to go down. Not going to lose a life besides just that quick little shake up there. So they'll be delighted to take that one out for themselves, as now pressure is building up on this top lane tower. It is obviously going to be the first tower down. Here's the gank we've finally been waiting to see from Rictorum. It burns not one flash, but two. And Potential does have to play them out of that one. Really great play, actually, from Rictorum, because he didn't waste anything to get in there. No summoners down on the rest of their side, and just got 2 free flashes for it, when now this top lane tower is finally going to suffer for it. 610 gold straight into the pocket of this Aatrox, and he was up, yes, I think just north of 20 CS. Now he's sitting 94 to 51 over his lane counterpart. I mean, that is a ridiculous amount of strength that he stacked up for himself here. 11.5 minutes, and both of these teams had a decent slow start with it all, but it's really come into the favor of Johns Hopkins. Now Rictorum maybe looking for something in the mid lane, wants to find it, flashes force, and then stops it. Well, he should be out of there. And they're actually turning it around as Night's Dawn has come into lane, slays Rictorum. Does get pulled up under the tower, but does find it turned around anyway. Not going to die for it there. It's another close call gank that Night's Dawn has really been able to turn on in this pressure. You know, we highlighted some of this in the beginning of this game. Okay, hey, here's a lot of jungle pressure. They've taken out, they've targeted this guy, Rictorum. Doesn't mean that he still doesn't have all this burden on his shoulders, but they did take away, I think, 3 junglers, and then 4, if you want to count them, picking away the Graves early into these rounds, and now they're punishing them for it, especially with this gank coming down to the bot lane, as Lawrence is taken very low for it. They want to find more. The curtain call does come down, and it's just one more shot. They do find it as Lawrence does go down. Zio was trying to block it a little bit, but could not make it happen, and now Shade in a world of hurt in his own top side here, getting just shoved in the lane, and 25th Soul wants to keep diving this one. This is a dangerous situation, especially now the ultimate is popped out. So Shade will be out of that one in one piece, but an ultimate down for that is going to hurt a little bit. Of course, 25th Soul did pop his own ultimate for that, so not a complete wash, but that has to be demoralizing, just tangible evidence of how far down you are at this particular point in the game. Only 13 minutes on the clock, and it's got to feel like so much longer. Things not going well for Temple in the beginning of this one. Johns Hopkins showing why they're heretofore undefeated at this point. Back to the drawing board a little bit for Temple. Turret plating, gonna fall off pretty soon here. Gotta be careful about that, because that's gonna give a really big chance, I think, for the likes of Johns Hopkins to extend the lead that they built for themselves in this game. It is dramatically. In fact, the only one that seems to be keeping pace in this game on their side is Wolfgang, who does only, I say only in quotation marks, find himself about 25 CS down here, and there's 20 but either way, turret plating does go down. Lawrence is trying to get in. They want to find 4, but the Glacial Fissure just off base. The Lantern is going to be separated, not able to get to it, but Lawrence doesn't really need it. He just needs to do his jungle, and Victorium, maybe a bit of a missed opportunity there, but does come down more onto Lawrence, not exactly connecting with that Glacial Fissure there. It's a tricky one to land sometimes, was trying to find both of them. Got a little selfish, Going for 2 means he only got 1, but this has opened the door now for Nightstone to get back in here. 4 is down to find himself his second kill of this one. 2 more, and he'll live up to his namesake, but now it's really tricky without Zio there. The first death means that this is going to be a very tough tower to defend as the minion wave crashing at just the perfect time. And Nightstone on this grave will look at his build. He's got the BF sword, he's got the long sword. He's going to be just really hell on these towers, about as much as, of course, this Jhin here. And now, Victorium glancing off on the side, wants to find it. Nightstone is dashing out. He almost gets locked up on the Braum passive, but he's just not there yet. And now Laurent very low for this one, near side of the shield, keeping them barely alive, but 4 will not have it. He is on the killing spree, looking to find more as Nightstone puts the final nail in that coffin, and Victorium does go down as well. That's a 3-0 start now for number 4 in the bot lane. 2-0 for Nightstone here as well in that jungle roll. And they're not done yet. The Chaos just gonna keep rolling as Wolfgang now in some trouble. Nightstone, easy roam up for that one. He finds the kill. Credit will deny it to his mid laner. Rintasaka remains scoreless in this game thus far, despite his 2 assists. Will now, 25th Soul, chasing down Shade. He actually may have had a window in that resurrection time frame to get back to his tower, but I actually think he may have just killed himself here just by continuing to run back. The minions are on him. They're just going to make sure he's got nowhere to go in particular. He's backing. Yeah, I don't think 25th Soul. Okay, there's the ward now. They're on a race, but I think he's got this one. Shade should be going down. Yeah, and there's his revive passive, but it's only a limited amount of time. It's not going to get him the kill. That's a very confident back from 25th Soul. He knows he got away scot-free with that one. Ripple effect keeps on rolling. That is the blue buff of Temple taken away. Now they're moving on. They're going to take the Rift Herald for this one as well. Dragon, the Cloud Drake knocked out. 16 minutes, relatively late for the Drake, but they've been busy elsewhere on this map. 9 kills, 3 towers to 0 towers, 1 kill on the side of Temple here. Well, they may find that a second kill as Rintasaka is in some trouble. Does get shut down on that one. Had the flash, but didn't want to try flashing for the Lantern. May actually not have had the frames to do it. Not exactly sure how that one did go down. But either way, they did lose one on the side of Johns Hopkins. Temple finds a much-needed bit of reprieve there, as they will answer that one back. It goes over to the Victorium, who's needed to be a bit bigger of a force in this game than we have seen him be thus far. I know, it must sound like I'm just lambasting this guy every time I say his name, saying he needs to do more, but take a look at these teams, and their lanes are just getting outclassed top to bottom, and this could be bad now. The side effect of that is the fight is coming down. That's going to be potential finding Laurent. Wolfgang getting in at 4, gets going down. That's going to be a big one actually now for the side of Temple. They're going to feel a pretty big win off of that one. It's a 2-for-1. Victorium does go down, but great fight found out from the Temple Owls, and they actually get themselves the Rift Herald off of this one. That is just what the Doctor wanted. They have to be careful, though. They cannot squander this opportunity. Only good Soul. Zio. Feathers fly, but likely going to go down for this one. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. 25th Soul finds that kill and picks it up. Very good that Temple didn't get antsy and pop the Rift Herald right off the bat, because wouldn't have gotten anywhere for them. But Zio dying now. Not what they needed in this position. Just a chance for Johns Hopkins to rebuild pressure like that. I mean, they lost a seemingly pretty large fight in that jungle around that Rift Herald pit, and things don't go well for them. They don't care. They get right back up on the board. They're sieging mid lane. They've already found the second inner tower in the top lane. Their 10k gold lead brought down to about 9 now, but not rattled in any capacity. These guys are still feeling great about themselves, and they want a little bit more, as it looks like. Yeah, they get the silence down now, but 100% there's no being out of this one. They have to wait. It's a great threshold to get in, and just like that, the death sentence maybe living up to its name. Wolfgang not going to get out of this one in one piece, and Laurent separated from towers pretty hard. There's a long way to go back to safety here for this support of Temple. Let's see if this owl can get back to its nest, but potential cutting them off. Finds the double play there. Going to be more than this Soul. Will not be behind this one. Victorium going to be in some trouble here. There's the curtain call off. The Shade did get in on the backline. He's causing some trouble. His potential there is the one trying to get in and out of things just by the time Laurent finds it with the Winter's Bite. But now the kiting from number 4. This is going to be big. Support loss thus far for Johns Hopkins. Meanwhile, it's an ace that they found as all Temple Owls are taken out and away. Shade, the last ghost, the last remnant, trying to hold this one off, and we've just now had the respawn from Wolfgang. So we'll see if he's bold, brave, or just plain stupid enough to try to defend this one. It looks like this tower's going down. Would not be surprised to see the inhibitor fall too. as this is just a lot of aggression coming out from John Hopkins. Whew, and that will be it. The first inhibitor of the game. 19.5 minutes as they found themselves just a lot of pressure early on. They took these winning lanes and turned it into great macro play, where even when they did have these small mistakes, right, even when they did, right here at this point in the top lane, where Tasaka overcommits a little bit, gets himself killed in the 2v1, or, around that Baron pit. They're going for the Rift Hail. Yeah, Rictorum stopped for a second there. Not sure what happened there, but 20th Soul picks up the kill for himself, and that's the 18th of this game. He's got 7 of them. That's closing in on half. Not exactly. He's about 2 shy of that half of the team's kills marker. But either way, he's going to be feeling great about himself. This Aatrox pickup was a late one into the game. The last pick, it was the counter pick option to pull in over Shade. Man alive, has it worked? Shade 1-4-1, 7-1-1 for 25th Soul. 5-0-7 for the jungler as well. This top half of the map has just been such a nuisance, and the consistent, solid play of their bot lane to eke out CS advantages and then not below them has really net John Hopkins, I think, the winning formula in this particular game. It's going to be so hard now for the likes of Temple to come back into this one. They got to take whatever small victories they can. Well, hey, here's one. That's going to be that bot lane tower. That's their first tower of the game. It's going to feel pretty big. It does cost him an ultimate from Shade on that side. He does got to get out of that one. Okay, oh, look, he's not going down there. We can challenge this there, and I don't think they have any vision, even if they do teleport in, because the rest of their team is defending those super minions in the mid lane. So there's not a whole lot that they can try to get away with here. This should be absolutely the Baron taken out and away. That's the Rift Herald summoned now by the side of Temple, but I think pushing into these Baron minions, what's it going to be able to do? It's going to get a charge off on the tower, or is it? No, it looked like they were going to find that one for sure, but now not exactly what they want. That's going to be a totally wasted Rift Herald on the bop here, and now they're moving right along. 25th Soul trying to get out of this one, just resetting. They know they want to pressure all 3 lanes with this Baron. They have the manpower to do it. This Temple, if they split, will just get decimated by these guys. As Nightstone already diving about halfway through. They know they can really maximize this pressure. This is bad news for every lane. See how long Shade can hold out here in this bot lane. But look at that. The cannon's just going to be wailing from the distance. I mean, 25th Soul going to be trying to find this one as well. He does not have the ultimate because earlier he did try to burn it to get out of this one. He traded his life for that tower. It just took a little while for the Devil to come and collect, but he did find it at the end of the day there. And now it seems to be circling the drain for the likes of Temple, because this could be the final fight. Wolfgang popping that stopwatch. Does try to stay alive with this one, but it's just not enough at the time. And that's going to be finally going down through the ultimate as well. Shade and Wolfgang and Rictorum all dead. Only the bot lane remains, Laurent and Zio. But what can they do against such force coming out of the side of Johns Hopkins? This one is just absolutely getting shut down. In 22.5 minutes, John Hopkins will take game number 1 with a decided victory. They're just circling now, trying to get these fountain kills, trying to get themselves through, but it will be game number 1 being picked up 22-5 in 22 minutes. A kill a minute. The final pacing for these 2 teams, or for the John Hopkins team, I should say, as they come through in devastating fashion to pick this one up. What a game they have for themselves to go up 1-0 in the series over Temple University. It's a pretty drastic win. It's one that you got to think this is going to rattle the cage of Temple pretty hard here. John Hopkins proving a point. Here's why they're undefeated thus far. Temple, it's a best-of-3 series, and you can always come back, but it's a tall order at this point. It's something that they're really going to have to knuckle down and figure out what went wrong, because their draft wasn't terrible. They didn't just get outscaled in every capacity, outmatched and outsmarted. They had good picks that could have done solid things. They didn't respond well to being targeted in the jungle and AD roles, and they suffered for it. We'll see if they can find any way to adapt and come back, show a little bit of life in this series, or if Johns Hopkins is just going to take this one out and away 2-0. But of course, we do have to take a quick break before all that happens. We will get back with a little bit more League of Legends action right after this, so please don't go anywhere.